Welcome to another exciting episode of Sports World with Patrik. Today we have a special guest who has made a huge impact on the ice and in the locker room as a leader. Joining us is Tommy Gilligan, the alternate captain of the University of North Carolina club hockey team. Tommy is an outstanding player with a passion for both hockey and leadership. As an integral part of the UNC club hockey program, he's been instrumental in helping the team's succeed on and off the ice. Today, we'll dive into Tommy's journey in hockey, his role as a leader for the Tar Heels, and his insight into balancing academics and athletics at the collegiate level. Whether you're a fan, an aspiring athlete, or simply someone who loves a great story of dedication and hard work, this episode is sure to inspire. Tommy, welcome to the podcast. And so I do have this first question for you, Tommy. Can you tell us a little bit about your hockey journey and how you first got involved in the sport?
Yeah, first off, Patrick, thanks for having me. I appreciate the kind words as well. And yeah, hockey's definitely never come very naturally to me. I started off pretty late, I guess, probably around 8 or 9 years old. I started playing, and the way I grew up in New York, so it's a little bit colder than it is there than in North Carolina, but I grew up with a real passion for football. I got hurt or something, concussion when I was really young, and my mom didn't want me to play football anymore. So my dad was like, all right, we got to put him in a new sport. And he suggested hockey, which I'm not really quite sure how that kind of works with the injuries. You know, hockey's probably worse than football at times. But yeah, I just started playing for my local team. I played house league for I think a year for the Millbrook Knights out in New York, and kind of went up to their travel team and played there as a squirt, and then really kind of found my passion for the game with this team called the Hudson Valley Polar Bears, where I still have all my best friends played on the team that I did when I was 11, and we're still really close. And just the Polar Bears was fun. It was just single A hockey, and I played there for about 3 or 4 years and learned a lot about the game. Was able to really get better and have some pretty cool seasons there. And we didn't. I don't think we won anything, but it was really fun, and that's kind of where I built my passion for it. And then eventually, kind of realized that I wanted to start playing at the higher levels and kind of see how far I can go with the game. And that kind of led me to playing with the Jersey Hitmen when I was 14 or 13, and playing AAA hockey there. You know, one of the better programs in the country for developing young players and moving them up to juniors. They've got one of the best NCDC programs in the country. I mean, it's one of the more well-respected teams that you can be on. So, you know, found a nice little home there for 3, 4 seasons, and you know, definitely felt like that's where I kind of realized I could be something with hockey, and had some good years, some ups and downs, and definitely was hit with COVID a little bit towards the end there. Jersey kind of shut down a little bit, or at least that's what they thought was going to happen. So I made a decision to go out to New Hampshire and play for the Cyclones for a little bit, but COVID was just as bad there, and just kind of realized it was kind of this rat race to the top. You know, I had some juniors interest in my last year, but I just decided I just didn't really want to go down that route. I, you know, really was fixated on my dream of becoming a lawyer, and you know, spending 2 years in juniors. You know, even though I had some good teams that wanted me to go and said they would tenor me, but I just thought that it was too much, and my body had taken enough abuse over the last couple of years, and that's kind of what led me to club at the end of the day. But yeah, I know hockey's a special sport. It's so much fun. It's hard to give up, hard to let go of it. I've learned a lot from it, and I definitely feel like the stage I'm at now, playing club for UNC, maybe wasn't what I expected when I was, you know, 15, and had a great year with the Hitmen, and you know, kind of had some people in my ear. But you know, I'm glad it's worked out this way, and I wouldn't do it any other different. I wouldn't do it differently at all.
And then you know, as you mentioned, you were in New York for the longest time. So I don't know if you're a Rangers, a Buffalo, or even a New Jersey or a Islanders fan. But you know, what was your who were like sort of your biggest influencers? Because you did switch over from football to hockey when you were growing up, both on and off the ice. And then since you are from New York, I know being at UNC is probably a little bit nicer. Definitely, don't have to go to the rink during the winter, sort of all dressed up because of snow or something. But so can you also sort of walk us through what your decision was to play for the University of North Carolina?
Yeah, so I actually did not grow up a New York sports fan at all. I think I just like the Yankees and the Knicks, but I grew up a huge Edmonton Oilers fan. That was my team, and it's a lot of people's jokes. It's a big part of my personality, so I definitely ride and die with my Oilers. But yeah, I grew up. My favorite player when I first started playing was Taylor Hall. He was the first overall pick in 2010, and that's kind of when I started watching the team and just watching him skate and how fast he was, I just wanted to be like that. And I tried to copy his stride, his long stride. He pumps his arms like nobody I've ever seen, So I was trying to copy that, and so I predicated my game upon speed and skill, kind of like Hall did. Once the Oilers drafted McDavid, that changed everything for me and like how I looked at hockey. McDavid was definitely the guy I wanted to be like McDavid. That's an impossible goal, obviously, but I wanted to skate like him. I wanted to make the moves he did. I wanted to see the ice like he did, and also kind of the way he composed himself outside of hockey was really special to me. Like, the guy had so much pressure on him to be the best player since Lemieux or Crosby, and he came in and exceeded every expectation really on a bad team his rookie year, and then he's obviously led the team to heights I didn't think that an Oiler team could do anymore. So yeah, I definitely wanted to model everything after him. Obviously an impossible goal again. He's the best player of all. He's one of the best players of all time for a reason. I knew I wasn't going to be that guy, but definitely wanted to try my best to do that. In terms of New York, it was a great place to grow up, great place to play hockey. So many teams and players around you, and I spent a lot of my competitive time in New Jersey. I went to high school in New Jersey for a year, and then obviously played for the Hitmen. So I was spending a lot of time in Jersey during high school. That's a great hockey state. It really is. It's so many great players that come out of there, like Drew Fortescue, who's brothers with a guy I played with in that area, Will Fortescue, who's on the World Junior team for Team USA, like a third round pick. And then they've got all sorts of guys like Sal Guzzo, who's at Harvard, and Ryan Fine, who played at Don Bosco. So there's a lot of these guys who you grow up around. They're just great players, and yes, that was a great place to be. But when COVID hit, my dad's job went remote, and they wanted to get out of New York. And during my senior year, midway through, they made the decision to move to North Carolina, and that kind of put me in limbo because I was still kind of deciding if I wanted to play juniors or if I wanted to go to school right away. And the challenging part of that was I lost in-state residency in New York, and I wasn't going to get it in North Carolina. That put me in a tough spot, in terms of like where I was going to go to school, if I wanted to live away from home or whatever the case was. Actually decided to go to community college for 2 years to kind of get my in-state residency in North Carolina. And then I always wanted to go to UNC. As soon as I knew we were going to move to North Carolina, I was like, UNC is the best school you can go to. And, didn't get in my first go when I applied out of state. Applied in state the second time I got in. So yeah, that's kind of how it led me there. And didn't do a ton of skating during the 2 years I was off. Really didn't do anything like hockey wise. Played a lot of golf. In Pinehurst now, so it's a pretty good golf spot. Yeah, so it's different. Definitely playing hockey in North Carolina is a lot different than in New York. The attitude, the weather, it all feels very strange at times for sure, but it's a good change.
And so I do have this question because New York's a little bit of a hockey market, but then also in North Carolina, I would say basketball is probably the more dominant sport.
Yeah.
Did you ever? I mean, once you had moved to North Carolina, did you ever think about maybe I need to quit hockey and join the basketball teams here and see what I can do, or did you just sort of stay sort of on like that? Okay, I'm definitely gonna be in hockey. Like, it's because it's hard to find a rink in southern markets, obviously, because there's not very few rinks. But yeah, did you ever think about that?
Yeah, I mean, where I was in Pinehurst, I'm an hour and a half away from Raleigh and 2 hours away from Charlotte. So those were the two closest rinks to me. So if I wanted to skate, I would have had to drive an hour and a half up north. And, I didn't really do it a ton. So I definitely wouldn't have gone basketball. I don't think I've got any talent for basketball for sure, but golf was something I was seriously considering, like, spending a lot of time with and trying to get really good. Unfortunately, I'm not that good even now, but there was definitely a thought in my mind where I was like, I might not ever get hockey again. Like, I might not ever want to do it. And then even if I go to UNC, like, I don't know if I'll still even be good or anything like that. So I thought about just like taking that out of my arsenal and just trying to play golf and maybe enter tournaments at Pinehurst. There's so many of them, but unfortunately, I wasn't that very good at golf, so it would have taken a few years. I feel a little bit better if I want to do that now. Yeah, hockey is it's kind of tough to do in these markets, and the way I kind of tried to stay in the game was luckily in Pinehurst there was this outdoor like roller hockey rink, and I'd never played roller hockey in my life, and I just bought roller skates and would play pickup games there every once in a while, and that kind of kept me in it a little bit, but it's not the same for sure. But yeah, there was definitely a thought about maybe golf and making that like the forefront of my athletic experience for sure.
And obviously, as I mentioned, you're the alternate captain of the UNC club hockey team, and so you've played everywhere. You had your offers to go to junior hockey, but in the last 2 years, you started taking on this leadership role within the UNC club team. What does that leadership mean to you, both on and off the ice? And then, can you also tell me what do you think makes a great leader in the locker room, and how does it inspire you and your teammates?
Yeah, I think for me, like not playing in 2 years and kind of being outside of the locker room for that time, like I just remember sitting on the couch and watching hockey and just being like, gosh, like I wish I had that. And I think it made me want it more, made me want to be a part of a team more. And I think the thing that I missed, it wasn't really, scoring or anything. Of course you miss that stuff, but it was about being in the room with all your guys and having 25 brothers that you can just rely on for anything. And I think that definitely helped. That perspective certainly helped me when I came into the room at UNC. I was a new player, like I was very unsure of myself as a player too. I had no idea what I was capable of after not playing for 2.5 years. And so I kind of dedicated myself to just being like, I just want to be the best guy in the room I can be. I want to make friends. I want to talk to every single guy. Like I definitely missed that. So I think last year I wanted to be, I kind of wanted to see how things worked. I wanted to kind of see what our culture was before me and everything, and didn't want to be too much of a, voice being a first year guy. I didn't think that I could do that, but definitely there was times where I wanted to step up and say something. And I thought I'd try to do the best I could, leading by example on the ice and saying what I could in the room. We had a really good leadership group last year, and it was fun to watch those guys kind of lead our group. And when the team voted me as an assistant captain this year, I was like, oh, I thought that was a testament of just kind of how I conducted myself last year, and didn't really want to change anything. Just it's a bigger role for sure, but it meant a lot to me, just not being in the game and, just wanting to make friends to start off. That's why I wanted to play hockey. I didn't care if I was first line power play, left dot, or if I was fourth line getting it in deep. Like I just wanted to have, a bunch of guys to rely on and be friends with. So that was definitely a really cool moment, and it meant a lot to me. And I just think the biggest thing for me that I wanted to do this summer was every single guy I knew that was coming in, I wanted to reach out to them and just kind of give them a blueprint, because I had gone through the same situation last year, transferring in, not really knowing anybody, walking into a completely new situation, and just trying to connect them with as many people on our team or resources at the school as I could. And that kind of helped me develop relationships with the new guys before they even stepped onto campus this year. So I think it's about being inclusive. It's about giving guys, a place in the room where they have a sense of belonging, and it can be a release. I mean, school's a really stressful thing, especially at UNC. It's really challenging. It's rigorous, and go into the room and letting guys know, hey, this is a place that you can just be yourself and let go of your, all the stress for a little bit. I think that's a really cool thing, and I try to stress that to every single guy on our team. So yeah, I mean, being captain, I've been a captain a bunch when I was younger. A captain, my polar bear teams times, my high school team, my hitmen team. I was, wore the C for those guys. So I've kind of had some experience with it, but definitely at the college level, it's a lot different. It's guys have so much more going on now. A lot more pressure. Guys are trying to figure out their internships look like, or whatever the case is. So it's more stressful, but I just try to be the best friend I can be to every single guy, and I'll let them know they can talk to me about whatever. So yeah, it's kind of the tenets of how I want to lead, and hopefully I've done that for our team this year.
And so I did have this question also because, with you guys being a club program, you guys have sort of this, the student led program itself. And I've gotten to see a little bit of it from when I go to games at different schools. But how much, because of being leaders on this team, how much does the communication, between the leadership group and the coaches and the other teammates really, how much of an impact does that have on having a really good team to put out on a daily basis or even a weekly basis? Whatever, it's some guys are like, well, I'm in a slump, I'm not going to get out of the slump, or how do you guys sort of, how do you approach that as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, it's I would definitely say the situation that we have at UNC is pretty unique in the fact that it is student run, but I feel like the players have so much power, if that makes sense. Like I feel like we can kind of dictate some situations, which isn't always a great thing. Sometimes I like to have things out of your hands for sure, but we have we have a huge voice when it comes to administration stuff, and things like that. So, you want to make sure you're towing the line of being involved, but also kind of knowing like, hey, like you're a player, like you just gotta go out there and play sometimes. Our head coach Steve Rice, who played in the NHL, like he gets it. Like he just understands when guys are slumping or when they don't have it. He's been through it himself. He's been through the highs and lows. Like he was an unbelievable player. Obviously first round pick. So he understands. He's got a pretty good pulse on when guys are struggling and what they need to do. Like I've struggled this year to score, and like I just haven't been able to score at all, and I always go to him and I'm like, Bryce, you're like, what do I have to do? And he's just a calming presence. Like he's been there. He's, he's playing the NHL for 8 years. So there's definitely things like that where you can kind of rely on people like Steve for experience. As players, like, the captains in our team, like we'll just go up to guys who know that maybe they struggled in the game and they're feeling it in the room, just like give them a tap on the back, be like, hey man, like, we're good. Like, we're all in this together. And I think that sense of togetherness kind of can help things, like where you're like, yeah, you might have thrown a pizza up the middle and whatever, but like, hey, like we all did it tonight, So definitely things like that, but just being fluid in your conversation and going up to guys and not being afraid to, just confront the awkwardness of, hey, like I had a bad game or whatever. It's like, yeah, like it's fine. I could, life will go on tomorrow. Yeah, we've got a really good support system here, and the players being as involved as they are and some of the administration stuff kind of it allows our team to kind of get comfortable with what we're doing, and everyone's kind of on board. It's a very democratic process, honestly, with how things work in our team. So I think that gives everyone this sense of involvement, and kind of helps you buy in to what we're doing, because we're all a part of it. We all have a voice to do something about it. So that happens on and off the ice, but definitely on the ice, you just want to be there for guys, and also kind of direct them to the people like Reiser who've, been there, done that, and at the highest levels. Yeah, we've got a lot of great resources here, and the players are, very much a part of it.
And then I did have this question also, how do you sort of balance being a student athlete, while also having those, leadership roles to fulfill, if you have to go to a leadership meeting or, coach is like, hey, look, I want all my leaders to meet with me today, or hey, I want my leaders to meet with this player, that player, and then, also go out there and recruit for the upcoming season, and sort of help with that during the year. Definitely when I mean at UNC, I've got a feeling it's pretty tough. I've got a feeling when finals come around, it's sort of hard to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, definitely during finals, it's like your life is on halt, for sure. And we luckily we don't have any games or anything during finals, which is great, because I don't think we'd handle that very well. But yeah, UNC, it's a unique setup in the fact that we have like the lowest acceptance rate of any of the teams that we play, really. I think this year the acceptance rate's at like 15-16%. There's a difference in in-state acceptance rate versus out of state. It's pretty hard to get here out of state. I learned that firsthand. But it's a really difficult school, and obviously it changes to do what you want to do. But I think one of the biggest things about our team is just like everyone on our team, sorry, is so dedicated to their careers and what they want to do after college. Like I can't think of a single guy on our team who isn't going the extra mile to network or, study for an exam because they know that an A is more important, for a job than an A minus or something like that. Like there's a huge push towards academics in our team. And I think that's really, it's a great environment because even though we're all good hockey players and we love hockey and it's such a big investment of our time, like everybody prioritizes their school first. And that's just kind of what you have to do at a school like this. Like we all knew that coming in, that you go to UNC for this education. To say that you're a UNC grad, it kind of sets you up for a lot of things going forward. And every single guy on our team is so dedicated to advance themselves academically. So, there's a lot of, conflicting things with hockey, especially for guys who are on the board or, captains or anything. Like you're constantly, drawn in different directions. And it can be challenging to manage your time and to appropriate a certain level of focus to these things. I know for sure, like for me this semester it was super tough. Like I was taking the LSAT through the summer and into the last semester and studying for that every day, and then having to do my coursework, and then applying to law schools, doing my first assignment, like, and then playing hockey. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it teaches you a lot about time management, how to prioritize certain things. And although it's challenging, like we're all doing it. Every single, even guys, on every other team are doing it. I definitely would say it's can be more difficult here at times, just because we don't get any academic assistance from the school. Like we're not recognized as a Division 1 program, so it's not like we can, miss class on a Monday for practice just because we feel like it. Like that stuff doesn't exist. So yeah, it's we're just recognized here as normal students who happen to play hockey. And that's kind of changing a little bit, I think, at times. But yeah, it's challenging, but it's a really cool experience. It's definitely hard, but it's worth it. You're going to class every day, you're studying, and then hockey's like a nice release for sure. But everyone's bought in to play. It's just academics will definitely come first at a school like this, and that's why you go here. I mean, it's a great education for a reason, for sure.
And then, as you mentioned, it's sort of hard to get into UNC, for the school itself, whether it's out of state or in state. You know, obviously, your team dynamic is going to be very different from any other school. Whether it's even if it's in state, because I know Duke also has that. Sort of they're hard to get into also. But so, how would you describe the team dynamic there at UNC? And then what sets your team apart from the other teams in the Triangle area?
Yeah, I think for our group, like kind of as I was saying, like we're definitely all just very academically focused. Everyone's advancing their careers, doing what they can. But when we come to the rink, like all that kind of stuff just goes goes to the side. We come to the rink and we say, like, we have this saying, and it was kind of something that we were trying to stress the leadership group this year was like, a lot of guys have a lot of stuff going on outside of hockey, obviously. But we kind of had this thing that Henry Foster, our captain last year, he would say, and we've kind of tried to say that, but like when you're at the rink, nothing else matters other than hockey. Like, we get 2 practices a week, games on the weekend. We're not playing a ton, I guess, like we're not every single day. It's not like we're practicing for 2 hours. Like we get 2 hours a week to practice and then games. Like nothing else matters other than playing hockey during those hours. And I think that that's something that our team is working on, and we're doing a really good job of, is just taking it seriously. But I think for our group, like we're all so close, like just because we're all going through this kind of same process outside of hockey, that we can all relate to each other, and we're from all different parts of the country, and I think it just we just have a really tight group where every guy feels like your best buddy. They're always certain guys are in fraternities and stuff, and they always invite the guys over, and just kind of just good team bonding and stuff. So for us, like we spend a lot of time with each other outside of the rink, and I'm not sure kind of how other teams in the area operate, but I feel like we have a really cohesive team that sticks with each other and kind of understands everyone's situation. Like there's no judgment for anybody on our team. Like we're all kind of going through the same stuff, so we all understand, like, hey, like if player X needs to miss practice because they have this exam, like that's okay. Like we'll do the same thing at some point this semester. So yeah, I think it's an environment for players who really want to get the most out of hockey and school. Like I think that it takes a certain level of athlete to kind of balance both and then do both at a really high level. Not shorting school or not shorting hockey. Like that's our group. Like everybody goes at hockey 100 miles an hour and everyone goes at school 100 miles an hour. And I think being around those people make you better, because it's like, hey, like this guy's like an economics major and he's got 4 exams, but he's at practice and he's working harder than anybody else. Like that makes you feel like, hey, like I can step that up too. And I think it's just this constant motivation for us just to see each other kind of go through all this tough stuff. Also do it at 100 miles an hour and do everything at 100 miles an hour. So that's definitely helped me a lot, like just seeing how my teammates operate. Yeah, so I think that's a unique part of our group. It's just that everybody's doing things at 100 miles an hour, no matter what they do. And yeah, it's inspiring, and kind of makes you a better student, better hockey player too.
And then, I know you've been there for 2 years at UNC at the moment playing hockey. This is your second year there. Do you have any like memorable or even, challenges that you've experienced there at UNC in general during your time there?
Yeah, I think challenges for me would just be all these injuries that I've accumulated here. Like I cannot believe some I don't know if I'm unlucky or if I'm just like just like the weakest person ever. But I think ever since the third game I played here, like that was the last game I played healthy. Like it's been a lot. Like I tore my hamstring last year, then I tore my labrum, and then felt bad. I got the break, then I tore my meniscus, and then at the end of last year I broke my back. So it's just all these things that just kept accumulating, and then having to recover from each of them. And then yeah, and this year I've played with the meniscus, and the back is still kind of feels a little weird. So I'd say like walking, like I remember after I broke my back, like walking to class. I don't I have this thing where I just like I need to go to class. Like it's very difficult for me to not go. So I insisted upon walking to every class with my broken back in like the 30-degree weather, and eventually that stopped once my girlfriend was like, hey dude, like you gotta chill. So I definitely would say the injuries have been tough, like being in pain and playing through that, which is the hardest part. Just every game kind of knowing you're not 100%, but just giving it your all. So I'd say that's been the most challenging thing for me the last couple of years. I mean, at times school's hard. Applying to law school and stuff this year or last semester was certainly, there's a lot of balls in the air, a lot of pressure. Yeah, I mean, you go through all these challenges, but they just make you better. They make you tougher, and yeah, I wish I could play a little healthier, but yeah, those are definitely some things that I've thought about over the last couple of years that I've had to kind of fight through a little bit.
And then obviously, like you mentioned, you had all these injuries after the third game of last season. How do you and how do you help the other players on your team stay motivated and focused, whether it's a rough game or they get injured, um, during the parts of the season, and how much of that can you guys coach as leadership, to be mentally tough, no matter what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, mental toughness is tough to teach, but I think you can learn that through experience, like just being in certain situations. Kind of on display for our team's mental toughness was this year we were, first game or the game we played against State, which is like the hallmark game of our schedule each year. We're in their rank and we go down 4-1 after the first period, and we got into the room and I just knew I just had this feeling like we weren't dead yet, and everybody in the room kind of felt the same way. Like you just looked around and guys were excited for the second period. They're like, "Who cares? We're down three. Like we got this." And we came back and won 6-5 in that game. Um, that kind of to me was like, okay, like this team doesn't really need someone to say like, "Hey, we got this" or whatever. Like we just have that. Uh, that was the biggest game that we played to that point. And just to kind of go out there with that poise and composure was pretty cool. So I think our team has a lot of that mental toughness. Like guys are so driven and they want to win. They're very competitive. So with guys who go through injuries and stuff, like I kind of like I'll joke around with guys who get hurt. I'm like, dude, I'm still playing. Like, no, why can't you? Kind of thing. But in actuality, you're just trying to keep it light in the room. It's obviously like hockey's important, and we all want to win and all want to do great things. But we're playing the sport for a reason. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something for us to kind of have this experience. Play hockey in college, and it's an addition to all the other things that you get to do in college. So you try and keep it light. Try and don't let guys get too down about the game because we're all in it together, as I said many times. So yeah, you just want to be together with these guys and kind of know like we're all going through it, and there's plenty of examples of mental toughness around the room, and everyone exhibits it in different ways. Yeah, it could be challenging for guys who are in a slump, but definitely just kind of let them know like we're all doing it together.
And then being at such a big school like UNC, where academics is sort of the big thing that is sort of pushed to the front of uh, students who are there at UNC. What does it really look like for you guys? On a typical week. For training. How do you guys sort of throughout the season? Because you guys do only practice twice a week. How do you guys sort of get those personal skill developments that you guys work on? Because I'm pretty sure the practices are pretty short. And what's the routine to stay in top form and even sort of balancing academics with hockey?
Yeah, it's definitely not the same setup as a Division 1 team or anything like that. Guys have their class loads anywhere between like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Some classes kind of run a little bit later. So from that time period, 8 to 6, you could be in class, you could be doing all these other things kind of rooted into your academics. And so some guys will have to kind of find some time to go to the gym on campus, in between classes or something. And then we practice Monday. So, Monday would just be like you're doing school, maybe go to the gym. And then we have team lifts on Mondays and Thursdays, which can't always be attended just because of the time with classes and people studying. So, that's an option that we have each and every semester. But yeah, you're just kind of dialed in for school for the work day, the 8 to 5. Afterwards, you got practice at 9:15 on Mondays, and Tuesdays kind of the same thing, like in class the whole day, and no practice Tuesdays, but on Wednesdays we do. So, really, it's you have to kind of do it yourself. We have the gym on campus open from Monday to Thursday, like late at night. so we can go there as a team. But if you can't make that, you got to kind of find time to run or something, whatever you need to do to stay in shape, sometime during the day in between your classes or in between your studies. Um, that part of it's a little challenging because it does make it up to you a little bit. And every year we're kind of finding new ways to let the school us do more team activities. So having like the gym open for us for our team only is was something that came in last year that was really good. We're you have to kind of figure it out yourself sometimes, but every guy does it like in different ways. Like guys like some of our guys like to run a lot, some of our guys lift pretty heavy, like whatever kind of works for you. So besides those two practices, it's really up to you to kind of figure out how to do it. For me, I spent a lot of time in the UNC treatment center, trying to get my injuries all rehabbed up. So we do have access to the same treatment center that all of our D1 athletes have. So that's really cool. And that's where I spent a majority of my time this year and last. So yeah, it's we have a lot of great resources for sure, but it definitely is you have to be kind of self-dependent.
And then, going back sort of to the injuries, the fact that you've even played, at sort of the house and club level, as a child, what are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned so far, and how does that help you improve as a teammate and even as a team or a teammate as a player?
Yeah, I mean, hockey to me is like a sport of life lessons. Like you learn so many different things through hockey that apply to your life, just like the resolve, the dedication, overcoming obstacles, like all these things you face in hockey one way or another. Maybe it's like sometimes it can even just be in a play, like you can find these parallels to your life all over the place. And, for me, it's like hockey has taught me so much about myself, how I respond to certain situations, how I think through things. Like hockey has given me the blueprint for kind of how I think and how I have responded to certain things. So the game's given me a lot. And I think some of that perspective, I just try and glean on my teammates, especially the younger guys who maybe didn't play at the high, as high levels I played or going through certain things. Like you can always find something in hockey that can transfer into your life skills or whatever. I think the biggest thing for me that I've learned with hockey and that I try to do is adaptability. I feel like you're constantly adapting to new situations. You're adapting to plays. You're adapting to coaches. You're adapting to new teammates. You're adapting to new systems. Like there's so much adaptation in hockey and in your life. Like that's what you're doing all the time. I had to adapt to this new environment of school and UNC and everything. And you're adapting to new people and everything like that. And you're gonna have to adapt to a new job and all these things. So I think if you go into hockey like trying to be like, okay, like yes, like this is something I'm doing with hockey right now, but how can I transfer this into something I'm going to experience years, in the future? I think that there's a lot of different things that you can use from that. So I've definitely learned to be adaptable, to be like go into things with a very open mind and honestly be okay with failure at times. You're not going to score 100 points every year, like you want to, but it's not going to happen every year. So yeah, I definitely think that there's things like that, just adaptation and almost being okay with failing and what you can learn from your failures. I think those are all things you learn from hockey and something that every single guy on our team has gone through at some point, and I think it makes them stronger as people.
And then, obviously you've played and you had offers to go play junior hockey prior to going to UNC. What's the biggest difference that you've found that playing at the club level compared to the hockey that you were playing in New Jersey and in Connecticut, sort of?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is like how the game is organized and how it's played. I think that sometimes with Acha, the game can kind of feel a little unorganized and a little erratic. Whereas I feel like, playing AAA and some of those higher levels, like the game kind of plays to your expectations. Like you can kind of understand like what moves certain guys are going to make, or if they're going to dump this in, or kind of something that they're trying to do because they're kind of thinking the same way as you. Whereas in Acha, like sometimes teams don't really have firm systems in place. So guys are kind of running around everywhere, or they're not able to talk through certain plays as in detail as maybe, we did playing tier one. So I would say the biggest difference is just for me at least. I mean, it's just the organization of the game. And I think it can be difficult for really good players to adjust to as well, especially if they're used to playing a certain way where the game is very, orderly. Everyone's playing their systems, everyone's playing their role, whereas at the Arch level, that's not always the case. So I definitely think it can be actually difficult for some people to adjust to that. And I would totally put myself in that bank. So yeah, I definitely say that's the biggest difference.
And then with UNC being a club program, and there's multiple different NCAA Division One programs on that campus, including the football and basketball. Including, as I was thinking about it, UNC football just hired Bill Belichick to be their next head coach. You know, how do you guys foster individual and team growth in the system? What sort of makes the system even special? And then can you sort of talk about the importance of what club hockey plays at UNC, with the overall athletic culture of UNC?
Yeah, it's definitely different than the big programs, the money making programs. We don't have the same advantages that maybe they have outside of the classroom to kind of miss practice or miss class to go to practice or anything like that. Or you're obviously not as notable either as an athlete. So there's definitely those big differences, but I think that's kind of nice. The biggest advantage you have is like there's no real pressure, like the only pressure that we have is from within. Like, the school administration isn't banging on Ricer's door to make sure we, win nationals this year. Like, that's a team goal. It's not a greater organization thing. So sometimes like not having that pressure is really nice. And I think that's what draws people to the club level. Like there's pressure for sure. Like, the team wants to do well and you want to do these things, but there's no, nobody's losing their job or anything because of a bad play or something like that. Like those things don't happen. It's just, it's not like that. So that's nice. Like it's nice not to have that. But yeah, like it's I think in the greater culture of it, like what's nice is like we're the best hockey team on campus. Like there's no other hockey team, right? So the 27 guys who are on our team are the best 27 players at the school, and that's a pretty cool thing to think about, like at such a big university. I think for those big games that we have, like the Charlotte game got sold out. People were traveling to watch us play, and I'm sure the game at Lenovo Center will be packed like it always is. So there's definitely interest in hockey, and being the team that's the best one on campus, so to speak. It's pretty cool. It's sometimes you get recognized, and if you're wearing UNC hockey gear, sometimes people ask you if you're on the team and stuff. It's definitely not as big maybe as if I was on the basketball team. Not even close, but it is kind of cool. It's you kind of feel at times you can feel like an athlete, but I kind of I joke with some people like we're athletes, like we're students and athletes, and maybe not as much student athletes at times. So it's really cool to do it here at UNC. It's a big university. Everyone loves their sports, and hockey I think can kind of get coupled into it. Like we were in the Daily Tar Heel a bunch, which is a big newspaper in Chapel Hill. We were in that a bunch last year, and people do get excited about our games, especially the ones against state. Like everyone's ready to go for that. So yeah, it's cool, but definitely not the same as football or basketball for sure.
Sorry. And you've gotten to see a lot of the different ways that hockey is, the culture of hockey in general. And being at a club program for 2 years, and even at AAA, how has the culture sort of changed or even evolved in the years that you've been playing? And what do you think needs to happen to elevate college club hockey in the United States and bring more attention to it?
Yeah, I think the culture definitely changes a lot. On my hitmen teams, like every guy wanted to be a Division One player. That was just kind of how it works. Like everyone was driven to do that. Every practice was like a scout was watching you and stuff, and that pressure was fun. It's a lot, but it was fun. And now it's like for most guys, like there is the potential to play pro after club hockey and stuff, and maybe some of our guys will do that, but after this, it's like hockey's over. So there's not as much of that pressure. And I think that you can kind of feel that in the room. Like guys are talking about school and all these other things that are going on instead of maybe being completely fixated upon hockey. So, the culture is like our team culture is very like lively. It's fun. It's loose. I think that's a really fun room to be a part of. I've never been a part of a room like ours before, and I'm so glad that I am now. It's like you come to the rink and you're like with your friends, like you're sitting around the couch. It's like it's a very relaxed environment. And I think it helps you play better on the ice because it's like you're not super tense. You're not really competing with your teammates for a pro spot or something like that. Like none of that stuff really happens. I would definitely say that's cool, but in terms of like growing college hockey, I think you're seeing it like UNLV beating Denver is one of the biggest wins in college hockey in the last couple of years. Like that's insane, and it kind of just shows that although these teams are club, like they're good and they're going to keep on getting better. I think you mentioned like the new NIL revenue sharing where you can only have 25 guys on a team. Like that could definitely impact things. And then like the biggest thing is major junior now being able to play college. That honestly changes the whole scope of college hockey. So that's going to mean that a lot of really good players are going to play either Division 3 or these for club teams. And there's going to be a lot of really good talent that maybe would be Division 1 players normally, but they just kind of get shaken out of that situation because of the major junior guys. So you're going to have these really good players playing on these teams that maybe you wouldn't expect them to. So that's just going to bring more validity to the competition that already exists. Like it's just going to keep getting better, and ACHA Division 1 is pretty much like Division 3 for every other sport because D2 is kind of small in hockey and D3 is the bigger one. So it's real. Just because it's not NCAA, that has nothing to do with the talent. It just has everything to do with schools administrations and if they can approve and pay for another Division 1 team.
And then obviously, uh, you grew up as a young player at the rink all the time. What sort of advice would you give to a young player who's considering going to play club hockey and wants that as an option? Whatever that's currently just sort of getting ready to go to junior hockey, and let's say they don't get picked for an NCAA Division 1 or Division 3 school, and they do have the club program, or even if they do, they end up playing with the club program.
I think it's changing so much with these club teams. And I think the great part about club is, some of the pressure that we talked about is alleviated off of you and everything. But for me, it's like getting to play at a big university, especially like UNC, and having a great club team and an unbelievable education, like that is incredible. Being able to do all those things at once. Because for most players, like playing pro after college is really difficult. It doesn't happen for everybody. Obviously NHL picks are different or certain players, it's different, but being able to go to a great school where there's so many things going on besides hockey, it like lets you have a greater overall experience with college, I think, and something that you'll be really thankful for. So these big schools who have these club teams, like it's getting bigger. We're trying to build a rink, like we're doing all these things that Division 1 teams would typically have like the same kind of look to it, I guess, but we get to be normal college students at times and everything like that. So, I think that for guys, like everyone's situation is a little bit different. Everyone has different goals, but I think going to these club teams, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're a bad player or that you're a failure or anything like that. Like, of course, everyone wants to play Division 1. Everyone wants to go play in the NHL and whatnot, but it's that's really hard. It only happens for a select few individuals. So you have to evaluate your situation. But I think just being able to go to these awesome schools while also playing hockey and while the hockey keeps getting better and the competition is really starting to strengthen. I just don't see how that can't be an option. Especially you see UNLV beating Denver. Like these teams are really good, and there's a reason that they're there. And I think it's again, everyone's situation is so different, but it would be really hard to pass up on certain programs for sure.
And then, as you mentioned, you guys are in the process of sort of building a rink here, and I'm gonna share my screen here with you because I do have that. Give me just 1 second, sorry. But you mentioned it. Let me see if I got it up for it now. Do you see my screen yet? No. Okay. It looks. I'm sorry. It looks like it's not gonna work today. But I do want to sort of talk about this a little bit. You guys are building the rink there, and I do see, the plan for right now is sort of to build it in Chapel Hill. You guys will have the bar and grill, and then of course you guys will have the dedicated spaces for both you guys and of course all of the other sports there, including figure skating at UNC. So it's sort of that having that situation. Actually, do you see my screen now?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so yeah, so as we're talking, you know the arena at Caraway Village, you guys are at the moment sort of looking to fund this. Of course, it's an easy 10-minute drive, as you've mentioned before, to campus. You get a free bus. Obviously, this rink is going to be about 3,000 seats. It's sort of being built in North Carolina. In a few months. These pictures look really really good. I'll tell you that. But obviously, you guys are going to have this facility eventually here, and you'll have the 4 locker rooms, and the bar and grill you guys will have. You'll be hosting the training facilities, the figure skating, your women's ice hockey program that you have there. Concerts, high school graduations, teams, and sort of all that. As of right now, it looks like you guys are so you guys will be buying the land very soon here, hoping with the funding that it does go through. And you guys will end up opening the arena in, it looks like, the spring of 2028, and then for the fall you guys will be able to play in 2028. Can you just sort of speak on that in general?
Yeah, I mean this is a huge project, and it's gonna be absolutely huge, not just for our program but also for hockey in North Carolina. There's a very limited amount of rinks in our area, and we've kind of experienced that over at the Orange County Sportsplex, where we're playing at 10:15 just because there's so many different teams, and it's really hard to kind of get a bunch of teams involved. So yeah, this rink is going to give us a home. It's state of the art. It's beautiful, and um, yeah, it's just going to change everything about how UNC hockey is viewed. I mean, having this rink is going to be awesome, and hopefully it happens. But it's we definitely need all the fundraising help that we can get, and we've got a great group doing that with Colin Wall, our GM, has been kind of leading this project and doing an unbelievable job, rounding up support and knowledge about it. Um, yeah, I mean this is obviously a huge project. It's going to take a few years, but there's a lot of people invested in UNC hockey, and the more help that we get, the sooner it's going to be actualized. Um, yeah, hopefully this comes to fruition in the short future here. Yeah, definitely would be awesome for the school, and then for local teams in the area to kind of have a new rink to play at, and yeah, it would be incredible.
So it does look like right here, I'm guessing that's gonna be the Zamboni door right there, from what it looks like.
Yeah, maybe I'm not really too sure. I haven't really thought about the Zamboni yet, but yeah, either that or in the opposite corner. Maybe I'm not sure, but yeah, that could be where he goes.
Because it does look like this will be the four. These will be the 4 locker rooms, and this will be sort of the locker room for you guys, correct? So you guys will have your own locker room, and then the 4 extra ones, and then these would be where the away teams would be, correct? They're not on the other side of this.
No, yeah, they'd probably be in one of those rooms.
This is actually a really cool rink. It looks like. Hopefully, one of these days it does end up happening for you guys. And then, I sort of do want to go with this, since we're talking sort of about the future of UNC hockey. What are some of your personal and team goals for the remainder of this season? And after your time at UNC, or what are your what are your long term goals in hockey? Is it eventually to be a coach, or maybe go professionally, or even sort of work in the front office of a team?
Yeah, for our team this year, we want to kind of get off to a better start this semester, and really didn't play very well during our outdoor game, unfortunately. But I think just kind of getting off to a good start, finishing off the regular season really well here is important, and then having the Governor's Cup February 2nd at Lenovo Center in Raleigh will be definitely the game that everyone's kind of got circled on their calendar. We want to win that game. So, yeah, just kind of keeping our goals short right now, and just kind of seeing what's ahead of us. Building our game for the rest of the regular season, and then preparing for that game is going to be really awesome. And then we want to win the ACCHL in the playoffs this year. It's pretty wide open. There's some really good teams. Virginia Tech and NC State and Penn State. These are really good teams that we've had some Virginia Tech kind of handed us our lunch a little bit, but we've had some really good battles with these groups. So definitely just competing for the ACC, and I think that's kind of what we're doing. Hopefully, we make regionals and make a run there, but definitely winning the Governor's Cup and the ACCHL are our primary goals. And I would say personally, I'm not too sure how involved I'll be in hockey. Like, maybe if I've got kids one day, I'll want to coach them or something. But I applied to law school in the fall, so hopefully, I get into some of the places that I want to go, and be a lawyer. But I guess, I've always had a real passion for law. It's always been something I wanted to do. We'll see kind of where my career leads me, whether that's back in the front office of a team. I've always been interested in maybe being an agent for players or something like that. I think that would be awesome. It's difficult to break into, but we'll see. Like there's always a possibility that I could want to work in hockey. It's my passion, but definitely want to be realistic with that. So yeah, we'll kind of see where it takes me. But personally, thinking about law school next fall, and doing well in those classes, and getting ready for my career, and maybe some kind of transactional work or something like that. So we'll kind of see where it leads me, but definitely have an open mind.
And then, every player wants to leave their legacy at their alma mater. What's sort of the legacy you hope to leave behind for, players who will end up coming to play for the UNC club hockey program in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I just want to kind of be someone that guys could kind of you know glean some sort of lessons from, maybe in terms of leadership or something. Like, I hope that the younger guys who are going to kind of rise up this team and everything, and lead them, can kind of maybe see something I did as an example or something like that in the room, or just maybe the dedication to the team. Me and some of the guys know kind of some of the injuries that I've played through and stuff, and I do it because I love our team, and I want to compete with the guys. And maybe that's something that's inspiring to a player or something. Just the dedication to the team. So yeah, hopefully I've tried my best to live and breathe this team, and do everything I can to help us out. And yeah, hopefully some that inspires somebody who's younger than me, that wants to do something similar. But yeah, it's a great question, but definitely just hope that guys remember me for being a good guy, and doing the right things around the rink. So
And so I sort of do have two questions here, sort of together. So and these are sort of the fun questions here. If you could have dinner with any hockey player, past or present, who would it be and why? And also, who is the funniest guy on the team? And what's the best joke or moment that's happened in the locker room?
yeah, so I think for me, the guy that I would want to have dinner with, I mean, I don't think I'd want to go out to dinner with McDavid. And, they always tell you, like, you don't want to meet your heroes, so I probably won't do that. But I would love to go out to dinner with Leon Draisaitl. He just seems like the funniest guy, really lighthearted dude. yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. So I'd want to go hang out with Dreisaitl for sure. He's definitely a guy I've watched growing up and been a role model for me as well on the ice. Different player, but great dude. So I would definitely want to maybe hang out with him. In terms of the funniest guy on our team, we've got a lot of clowns on our team. Man, that's a tough one. I think certain guys find certain other dudes funnier than others. I think Nick Gingras is like hilarious, and I probably can't even say maybe the funniest thing he's ever done, but there's definitely been some moments where he just gets the whole group just laughing a bunch. So I would say Gingras is really funny, and then Matt Grady is on our team. He's got like these one liners that just make you cry. So I would say Nick or Maddie, they're really funny. So there's definitely a couple one liners that Grady has that just throw me for a loop. Like we were in DC and he was just walking and he like stubbed his toe and he was like, "Oh, I stubbed my wheel," and everyone just started dying. He just does things like that. So those two guys would be my clowns that I laugh at all the time. So yeah.
And then, do you have any pregame rituals or superstitions that you absolutely cannot skip on game day at
Yeah,
all?
I would say when I was younger, I was way more superstitious. I had the same, like I needed to get to the rink at a certain time, like tape my sticks at a certain stage of warming up. Yeah, I've tried to loosen them up a little bit. I think superstitions come with like when you're playing well, you just want to keep doing the same things. Like when I was younger, we would have to wear suits to the game, and like I was on this like crazy point streak, and I wore the same tie every single game. So like, there's little stuff like that. But now, like I always put the left side of my gear on first. That never changes. I always have to go left side of my gear first. I when I warm up, I kind of have the same warm up routine. I don't really change that up. And then after every warm up, I warm up with the stick I know I'm not going to use, and I leave it at the bench, and then I just kind of skate on the ice with the stick I leave in the locker room. So I think there's little things I do. I'm not as bad anymore, but I was definitely a bit of a nutcase when I was younger, and just making sure everything was on time. I was getting dressed like 27 minutes for the game, like stuff like that. I would do, but now I'm not as crazy with it for sure.
And then, looking back at your journey to where you are now, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self when you first started playing hockey?
Wow. I would say to to have a little bit more fun with it. I think I look back at some of the memories and stuff that I have, and they all come when I was a little bit younger and playing like high school where the pressure wasn't as much. And I would definitely just tell myself like enjoy this because it doesn't last very long. Like the shelf life of your career is it's pretty short, and you're gonna miss it when it's gone. And I kind of experienced that those 2 years I wasn't playing, and I would just say to myself like enjoy it and have fun with the process and with the competition. And definitely, I think I was a little too tight. I was too like I mean I guess it can't be too serious, but I was definitely very tense when I was younger, and I think I just tell myself to enjoy it and try and do as much as you can to remember every single moment that you can to make yourself better as a player on and off the ice. So yeah, I definitely just tell myself to have more fun. Hockey's a great sport. It's a lot of fun to do. It's you miss it when it's gone. So yeah, definitely just gonna tell myself to have more fun.
And then my very last question here for you, Tommy. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners about your experience as an athlete, leader, or even as a student at UNC?
Nothing that comes to mind, but definitely for people who want to play, college hockey, definitely come to UNC. Uh, it's been the best decision I've ever made. So hopefully others will follow suit and will want to play for this team as it continues to ascend up the ranks of college hockey. So, yeah, definitely just say love it for this program. A great decision to do what I have, and I'm glad and very thankful for every single second of being here. So, uh, my last semester of school definitely makes you a little bit more reflective of your journey and some of the decisions you've made. And I hope that the other people want to come here and kind of do the same. So yeah.
Tommy, thank you so much for joining the Sports World with the Sports World with Patrick today. Your insight really into the leadership and the balancing of academics and hockey, it really mean and what it means to really be part of a dynamic team, um, has been incredibly inspiring. I know our listeners will take a lot away from it. So, thank you for coming on the podcast, and good luck with the rest of your season.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks